Hello, my name is Christina. I love to salvage, repurpose, and create, and help others to do the same. This video is made specifically for all you furniture artists out there. One of the biggest problems when you paint furniture that you can encounter, and hopefully you've never had this experience, but one day if you keep painting furniture, you will, it's bleed through. Bleed through occurs when you paint a piece of furniture and then you see some sorts of stains or discoloring that comes up through the paint. It might be in spots or splotches, or it might be the whole piece, and it can be a wide range of color. Bleed through occurs when the tannins in the wood actually are seeping out. The easiest way to prevent that is through sealing your piece. Now, you don't always have to seal your piece. This piece of furniture I have behind me is primo for bleed through. And one of the reasons, now it might not, I might slap paint on it and have no bleed through whatsoever. You never really know, but usually if the piece you're gonna paint has a red color or tone to it, it's very susceptible to have bleed through incidents. So if you're seeing red wood, I'd recommend you either consider painting it a very dark color to avoid it, or you want to take some measures to prevent it. Another thing to look for is shiny. This piece of furniture is really lacquered and shiny. Shiny wood also has a tendency for bleed through. A lot of people, when they see it really shiny, their first plan of attack is to sand it. And sometimes that can have the opposite effect. If you sand the wood, you have a higher chance of releasing those tannins and sometimes even getting more bleed through. So if you think it's going to probably have bleed through, like this piece, don't sand, if at all possible. Or if you sand, sand first and then prime. The easiest way to conquer bleed through is to shellac the piece before you start. At least that's what I used to think. Shellac is great. You can spray it on your piece, spray 2 coats, except you gotta wear protective gear and you gotta do it outside and there's icky fumes. In this video, I'm gonna take you on a little field trip over to my mom's house. We painted a china cabinet and it had some bleed through. So I'm gonna show you how to deal with it and hopefully ease your mind and give you some reassurance that it happens to everyone and there's an easy way to fix it. This does not happen very often, but every once in a while you run into a bleed through issue. And check this out. This whole piece was painted with DIY Farm Fresh. Over time, even though it was finished with wax, this bleed through started to show through. I think you can see these spots. It might have been like grease, or perhaps what they were using to dust, some sort of a pledge or something like that, a spray. So I'm going to show you how to fix this. It doesn't happen very often. Don't be afraid if you're new to furniture painting, but every once in a while, you'll finish a piece, you've had no issues with bleed through, and it will appear. So we're going to get started. I love DIY Salvation Solution for Rebel Furniture. You can purchase any of the products that I'm using today on my website, shoptheturnedleg.com. Or if you're local, I'm located outside of Detroit, Michigan, at Lincoln Park, Michigan, at Plaza Antiques. I have a booth space. And this is a brand new product, Salvation Solution. It says Redemption for Rebel Furniture. This piece is rebelling. So normally I'd use a good brush, but I'm on location at my mom's in her spare bedroom. So I'm gonna use one of those cheapy foams. But all I'm gonna do is brush on the Salvation Solution in the areas that have bleed through. I'm using clear. You can also use white. Now, this piece was finished with wax. And a lot of times I get the question, can I paint over a piece of furniture that has been finished with wax? And the answer is sometimes. The best advice is you can rough it up with a little bit of sandpaper. It will help. This piece was finished quite a while ago, and I'm able to put this on, and I do not have, and the Salvation Solution is not like repelling because of the wax. But if you start to apply it, and you see it's not sticking, or if you're painting another color on your piece and it's not sticking, you can use a little sandpaper. I know people also recommend mineral spirits too. That works. By the way, Salvation Solution is natural. Shellac I know a lot of people use, but you got to use that outside. This does have an alcohol smell to it, so I do recommend opening a window. And all I'm doing is hitting the areas where I'm seeing the bleed through. And I know I might be a little out of frame, but really odd. This whole side, we had the bleed through. The other side, absolutely no problem. Can get it in white. It depends on your application. I thought, because I don't want to repaint the whole piece, so I didn't want to do it in white and then have it lighten this area and have it look different. So if you're doing like an all white piece, you could start off with Salvation Solution white or a lighter piece. Because I'm just spot addressing the bleed through, I'm using the clear. I'm using DIY paint, which is all natural clay based, which means you can use it in the house. There's no fumes, there's no icky things. This is the DIY paint sampler brush, by the way, that I'm using. It's a little smaller than the blending brush. You can use it for blending, but it also fits in the 8-ounce jars of DIY paint, which is wonderful because you can just grab your sample and paint. I have offloaded my paint. I usually put it onto a paper plate. If you watch me a lot, I know it's a repeat. But for people new to painting, I want to make sure you know I usually put my paint in FIFO bottles, first in, first out. That way I can just squeeze and go. I don't have to open cans. There is none of that, and it's just easier for me. I've stored my paint in them for a couple of years, and I haven't had issues. If you like the distressed look, but you know you're going to bleed through, use clear Salvation Solution and then paint. Then you can distress with sandpaper or wet distress as needed. You know I'm going to use DIY wax. Why? Because it's all natural. It's super creamy and yummy. Other companies, I've used them, their waxes are not like DIY wax. They're hard. You talk to people about waxing furniture and they're like, oh, it hurts your hands so much to wax. DIY paint's not like that, even the brushes. So I am not using the standard wax brush because mine are all dirty at the moment. Embarrassing but true. DIY paint has a great waxing brush. Paint Pixie sells a great one. Right now, if you follow me, you know I love my JRV large stencil brush for wax. Why? Because I can just grab it in the palm of my hand. The handles are real smooth. So I am going to be using my JRV stencil brush for wax. They work great. They also have smaller stencil brushes for detail wax. With this, normally I would offload my wax. But see, there's hardly any wax in there. See the shiny tin at the bottom? So what I mean by offload is I put some on a paper plate so that you don't contaminate the clear wax. Because when you're working, you will get, because it reactivates with water, some of the paint will go on your brush. If you put it in here, you won't be able to like do a white piece because it'll have some Farm Fresh in it too. So you don't want that to happen. But this has like no wax in it. I'm probably going to use it all up. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Before you go, please take a second to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. And if you want to see more videos from me, please hit the subscribe. Thanks so much and good luck with your projects.